Hey guys, the first episode of the Halo TV series released yesterday, and I had some pretty low expectations going into this show, and I'm happy to say the first episode exceeded my expectations. Granted, it's only one episode, but what I've seen so far has gotten me quite excited for the future of the series. With that said, there are a lot of good and bad things to take away from this episode. The series starts on the planet Magdrigal, showing us some insurrectionists talking about Spartans and the UNSC. We can also see what looks to be a news reporter, or even a propaganda post, saying that the people of this planet will fight for their independence. We then get a first look at the female protagonist of the show, which is Quan Ha. Now here the episode goes from 0 to 100 extremely quickly. An elite just ruthlessly kills all of Quan's friends in a matter of seconds, and the pure brutality of that scene was honestly jaw-dropping to me. So right off the bat, it was good to see that they weren't pulling any punches with the Covenant, because realistically, they would be this brutal. Then we see the elites attack the insurrectionists. Okay, now I've seen a lot of people talking about this, but the elites themselves look quite different to what we're used to. They share the Halo 2 anniversary model in terms of their design. However, the armor is totally different, and I still don't know if I like it, but I think we'll have to wait and see if it grows on me. But we can see what looks to be an elite commander, which is the red elite, and then the rest of them are elite miners, which share the bluish tinge. You guys may have heard this, but when the elites bust open the gate, you can hear them say "wart wart," and then another instance later on, about 10 minutes in, you can hear the elites go "wart wart wart." It's absolutely hilarious, and I was really happy to see that included. The elites throughout this scene have energy swords, plasma rifles, and plasma pistols, but here we can see the elite commander dual wielding with the energy sword and plasma rifle, and I'm gonna be honest, this looked awesome. As the scene plays out, we can see that the insurrectionists are getting absolutely hammered by the Covenant, and that is extremely realistic. The one scene that really blew me away was the scene where the elite opened up the doors to the vault, which was kind of hiding the women and children, and the elite just gunned them all down with a plasma rifle. I've got to say, I've always wanted to see that side of the Covenant, where they just destroy everyone, including civilians, and really have that kind of horror aspect to the Covenant, because in my opinion, they've always had that, and we've never really seen that displayed this heavily, so I thought that was really cool to see. I'm probably coming across as sadistic to a lot of you guys. I think seeing that elite gun down the people in that vault was actually fantastic. I was like, holy crap, they are not afraid to kill civilians here. So that was interesting, and it totally makes sense for the Covenant. Now the Master Chief's entrance was really badass. His Mjolnir armor looks just fantastic in my opinion, and I think for the most part the suit looked well during the combat scenes. There was only like 1 or 2 times where Chief was jumping in the air where it looked a little fake in terms of the CGI. I guess I would much prefer that than it look fake while he's walking and running around. And we do see a few first-person shots of the Master Chief killing the elites with the energy swords. Here we can see what his heads-up display looks like, and instead of being blue, they've decided to make it orange. And weirdly enough, I kind of like the orange look. The HUD is quite different to what we're used to in terms of the Halo games. The radar's in the right place, the grenades are in the top left corner, the actual shield bar itself is very different to what we've seen before. But overall, I kind of like it. After the first-person shot, we can see the Master Chief facing off against several elites wielding energy swords. What I really liked here is that you can see the Master Chief's energy shields kind of crackle when the energy sword grazes it. The attention to detail there is very much appreciated. Moving from this, we see Riz, who is Spartan 028, and she is dual wielding 2 magnums, but she also steals one of the elite's plasma pistols, and she uses it to pop the elite's head off, and man, that scene is just gory and absolutely fantastic. 1 minute later, we can see Chief trying to get the attention of the 3 elites gunning down his fellow Spartan. He takes some damage, and we can see his energy shields crackle again, and we can hear his shields pop. The energy shield sound itself comes from Halo CE, but the shield recharge sound comes from Halo 4. So I found that quite interesting that they kind of blended the 2 worlds there, but I did enjoy hearing that. I did kind of laugh when I saw Chief take cover when he was waiting for his shields to recharge. It was very reminiscent of what we usually do in the Halo games when you're waiting for your shields to recharge. So I don't know if that's an Easter egg or anything like that, but I found that quite funny for some reason. Once he leaves cover, he switches out his assault rifle for the machine gun turret and just goes on a tear, shredding the elites and then finally killing the red elite, but not before Quan Ha's dad died. And the way Quan Ha's dad died was honestly brutal, and I fucking loved it because the energy sword impaled him through the chest, and I've got to say the CGI looked really nice in this scene, and then Chief finished him off in good fashion, and then Silver Team left the area, just leaving Quan Ha behind. Paramount Plus did also create an intro scene for the Halo TV show, and it looks pretty darn cool. I'll try to show you guys glimpses of it as I'm talking. Seeing the armor kind of just form and materialize on Chief was really nice, so yeah, I did enjoy that intro scene. The episode then continues, and we see Silver Team investigating the Phantom. Chief sends Vanek and Riz to clear the Phantom, leaving Kai to go with Chief into the cave. We do get a pretty good Easter egg with them saying the cave network does not appear to be a natural formation. I'll play the clip.
Cave network does not appear to be a natural formation.
So I did enjoy that. Chief then touches the Forerunner artifact, and what's really interesting is that we can see the Reclaimer symbol appear. Now we have no clue what this Forerunner device will be used for, although I've got a funny feeling it will help Chief or the UNSC discover where Alpha Halo is. After Chief has his flashback, we can see an elite lurking in the shadows. Once he's spotted, he runs away way, activating his active camouflage. Now the sound itself is ripped straight out of Halo Combat Evolved, and the sound was really good to hear on the big screen. What's interesting to note is that as the elite applied the active camo and ran out of the cave, the active camo kind of deactivated after a short while. To me, this could very well be the Arbiter, or something similar to the Arbiter, because in Halo 2, the Arbiter was told that his active camouflage will not last forever, because his armor is nowhere near as new as the other elites. And when we take another look at this elite, he doesn't have any blue or red tinges on him. He doesn't have orange, so he's not a general. His armor is purely black. Now some of you guys may think it's a little hard to make out, but in my opinion it looks like he's wearing purely black armor, and the helmet itself looks different in its design to the previous elites we've seen in the episode. So this could very well be the Arbiter. This is just a wild guess, but I'm curious to know what you guys think here. Who do you think this elite is? Because the armor color is totally different to what we've seen earlier on, and his active camouflage decloaked itself after a very short amount of time, which is almost the exact same as the Arbiter's cloaking ability. It's pretty cool to see him get into the Banshee, although it takes off extremely fast. After this we get our first glance at Dr. Halsey as well as Parangolfsky. I think the two actors portray these characters really well, and I do like how Halsey was very secretive about everything she was doing, as well as everything involving the Master Chief. We can see Halsey cloned herself, which will be used to steal the brain tissue to kind of help create Cortana. At least I assume that's the direction they're going. The next scene we see High Charity, and we get a scene between the Prophet of Mercy and the new female character, Maki, who is a human raised by the Covenant. A very questionable storyline, but we'll have to see where it goes. I think it was very good to see that they didn't talk in English. I think Mercy looks damn fantastic in his design. The Honor Guards just don't look right in my opinion. They don't sport their red/orange colour, and I'm not a big fan of that. However, the spear they're using is actually very similar to the spear used by the Honor Guards in Halo Wars. Now in this scene they mention a Kaidan warrior. So Kaidan is a Sangheili title which identifies an individual as a nobleman. Now I can't exactly remember, but I'm pretty sure the Arbiter can be referred to as the Kaidan. I will need one of you guys to correct me if I'm totally missing the mark on that, but I do think that elite was special, and it could have very well been the Arbiter. We then move to see Miranda Keyes trying to talk to Quan, asking Quan if she would cooperate with the UNSC. She of course says no after hearing and being fed all of this propaganda by the insurrectionists all her life, so that in itself made sense. There is also a Mass Effect Easter egg that occurs right after this scene, where it says Commander Shepard is requested at the Skillian Response Center, so I thought that was a little neat Easter egg. We then see the Master Chief and Quan interact while they're on the Condor. Nothing major really happened here, although we do find out that the UNSC want to have Quan killed, and the Master Chief gets that fed to his heads up display, so while he's talking to Quan, he sees that she needs to be terminated. He makes the decision not to kill her, and to me, I thought it was very quick, and I didn't really buy it too much that he would just disobey orders that easily, although I know he's questioning a lot of things after coming into contact with that Forerunner object. So in terms of the plot, it does make sense. We do see Captain Keyes talking to Miranda Keyes, and this is where he talks to her about their plan to kill Quan. It will be very interesting to see if this Keyes goes through all of the same things as Captain Keyes from Halo 1, going through so much shit where he literally becomes a proto-Gravemind on the ring. I really do think we'll see a story similar to that, but probably not until Season 2. So once that is established and they need to terminate Quan, the UNSC drop the oxygen levels in the Condor. Chief reacts pretty quickly and raises it back up again. However, the Condor's autopilot engages and forces the Condor to land. The alarms start and the UNSC kick into gear. I gotta be honest, seeing the Marines gear up, grab the battle rifles was honestly such a sick scene, and I love the way the Spartans had their armor put on. It was almost exactly the same as the Halo 4 scene where the Spartans were putting on their armor or Chief was taking off his armor. That was pretty cool to see. Silver Team were ordered to stop Chief by any means necessary, but Halsey jumps in and overrides their orders, and this is just Halsey being Halsey at this point, saying no, you will protect Chief by any means necessary, even if that means attacking friendlies. Okay, let's get on to the controversial bit. Chief taking off his helmet. I think it was far too quick. I honestly think they should have waited a few episodes, maybe even till like halfway through the series before revealing Chief's face. So I do feel like it wasn't exactly earned per se, and I know a lot of you guys will have different takes on him removing his helmet. I think Pablo Schreiber overall fits the bill for the Master Chief. His face isn't as scarred and I guess pale as the Master Chief should be, but you know what, I can overlook that because I think he still looks fine as the Master Chief. Chief then disengages the autopilot and tries to flee from reach. However, they shut him down right away, shutting off all the power in the Condor. This was so sick. The Marines and the Warthogs outside the Condor, I loved this scene. The Marine design was honestly superb. I really can't stress this enough how awesome this scene was, and I hope we see a lot more of these scenes later on in the series, because man, seeing all of those Marines and the Warthogs outside the Condor was just badass. Now, just before the Marines blew off the door of the Condor, Chief activated the Forerunner artifact one more time. Again, he had another vision of of his past, where it looks like he drew the Forerunner artifact. So as I said earlier, expect to see this Forerunner object a lot more in the plot, and I guarantee you it's got something to do with finding the Halo ring. From a certain angle, you can actually see what appears to be like this ring around the object, and it looks exactly like the Halo ring, just kind of broken apart. The Forerunner object wipes out the power at the Unsc headquarters, while at the same time powering up the Condor. This gives Chief and Quan enough time to escape, and that concludes the first episode. So there were some highs, and there were definitely some lows in that episode. But for me, if I had to give it a rating, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. In my opinion, the first 17 minutes was absolutely fantastic in every way. There were some issues with the CGI here and there, but all in all, I really did enjoy the first 17 minutes. Then the episode kind of dropped in quality and then picked up again towards the end. So I give this episode a 7.5 out of 10, and I am really curious to know your thoughts on this episode in the comments below. If you guys have made it to the end of the video, please do consider dropping a sub. It means so much to me, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.